I didn't think that art was a way to, I didn't think of it as a way to support myself. I thought that my job was going to working and raising kids. Yeah, taking care of my family.
I remember when you and I had sat down and spoke a while back, and you were kind of telling me how when you get to travel the world, a lot of the times you get to bring your family with you, right?
Yes.
That's that's awesome.
It's rad. Yeah, it's my favorite thing. It's very stressful. Like I think I don't realize it until I actually, till you're going through the airport with the 3-year-old.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And you're like, oh shit, this dude's wild. You know what I mean? And like we have like 2 weeks or a month of this, but while it's happening, it's stressful, but man, like you have no other option but to feel grateful that you're able to like create an experience for this, this little person, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then, my partner too, and she's, while I'm working, she gets to go out and do whatever, you know? And, yeah, it's a really cool thing. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Where all have you been able to bring them, or where all have you tattooed at, country-wise?
I mean, as far as out of the country, we just went to, last year, we went to London and to Berlin, to Germany. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite spot? Favorite place you've been?
In the States, I really like working in LA.
Really?
Yeah, I have some really good friends there. Like the weather's so nice, and there's so much stuff to do. There's they have all kinds of parks and Disneyland. Last time I went to LA, I took them with, and they got to go to Disneyland. I was working, but she was like, "Babe, Disneyland." I went to work at a buddy of mine's shop, not in LA, in Fullerton. I went to LA first, and then went over to Fullerton, and she was looking for something to do while I was tattooing, and she's like, "Babe, Disneyland's right down the street." I was like, she's like, "Should we go?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, you should go." Yeah. So they got to do that,
That's dope.
I had to stay and work, but I got to see all the pictures.
Right.
That's good enough for me.
You get to take care of your family, but you're pursuing your passion with tattooing, and
I love it. You know what I mean? I love it. I love making the connections, and I love connecting with the people that I'm tattooing. And man, I have a lot of really cool experiences since I'm I'm very open about my sobriety, and actually in Berlin, I was working, I was started off in New York, and then I tattooed in New York and then flew to London. I worked in London for like 12 days, and there was this dude reaching out, kind of a random thing, it's like, because I was already booked for the trip, and he was like, "Hey, I really want to get in. Do you have any time here?" And I worked at like 3 or 4 different shops and on the outskirts, and this dude was like pretty adamant about getting tattooed, and I didn't know him. We hadn't had no interaction yet,
right?
So I was like, "Hey, what's the deal, dude?" Like, because he said, "Where are you going next? Where are you going after London?" And I was like, "Dude, what's the deal?
So he wanted to be tattooed by you. He wasn't just trying to get tattooed.
He's like, "Well, I live in Ireland." He's like, I'm trying to get tattooed by you. And I said, "What's up?" And he's like, I just have a very strong connection to you. I'm also in recovery. I'm also a dad. And I was like, "That's rad, dude." And I was like, "Look, I have this time available in Berlin," which I kind of didn't, you know what I mean? But I was like, I'll just make the time.
Made it for him, yeah.
Yeah. Because when I'm traveling, I'm trying to have like, let's say I'm going to be somewhere for 6 days. I want to do 3 days of work and then 3 days of also getting to spend time with the family.
Right.
And this dude flew in got tattooed, and we probably hung out for like 5 hours, and it was the coolest experience,
Right.
And just the kind of conversation that you have with someone that's been through something very, very similar to you and understands the struggles that you've had and that where you are now.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's really, really beautiful, and it happens everywhere I go.
Right.
Yeah, I was tattooing in New Mexico in Santa Fe last year, and I went to go see some friends out there, and I went ahead and worked, and this dude one of my appointments showed up. It was crazy, man. I started crying. This dude showed up, and I didn't know who he was. I had no idea who this guy was. He shows up and he says, "Man, I don't want to be a weirdo or anything, but I have something for you." And I was like, "What's up? What you got?" And he's like, he hands me a chip, and he's like, "I know you're coming up on, 11 years." And he's like, "I wanted to give you my 11-year chip."
Really?
He's like, "I fell off." He's like, I'm still sober, but I lost my footing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I kind of like went through some mental health stuff, and you've inspired me to like get back in and get back on my stuff,
Right.
And man, did I start crying, and I was like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Like
right.
it made for such a cool experience, and there's just so many connections and so many like parallels,
Right. Dude, the first time I started getting messages, especially from people in other countries, once they had seen the documentary or whatever I was doing at the time, like that really, I don't know how you felt, but it was like, I'm just little old me here in Austin, Texas right now,
For
just
sure.
trying to get my shit together and get sober. How the fuck does somebody way over there know me or my story or anything like that? And it was mind blowing, but it just goes to show you how, like you just said, you're open with your story. And so many people hold that shit in. And the more we get out here and talk about it and, humanize it and makes people realize, like, we all know somebody, dude. Everybody knows somebody, every regular person out there. I was just talking to one of my therapists in the VA yesterday, which the VA is very buttoned up and all that. And she started telling me about one of her family members who was over in China and got locked up moving weight with heroin and all this stuff. And I'm like, holy shit.
That's crazy.
So we all know somebody, dude. So I love the fact that you're so open with your story.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but you were actually one of the first people I met in recovery.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
You were our mutual good friend, Russell.
Yes.
Had connected us. You and I happened to be going to the same gym.
Right.
My first legit workout I ever did was with you.
What were you doing before?
Just cardio stuff.
Running.
I was only a runner, and so I was a
I didn't know that. You had mentioned that. You had mentioned that when we met a couple weeks ago or whatever. But we didn't really talk too much about it. Like, you hadn't done any weightlifting at all?
No.
Oh, wow.
I mean, little stuff in high school with basketball, football, but I didn't even know how to work out, and so that's that's what got me into running and kept me away from the gym, was the fact that I didn't want to feel like I looked dumb. And so you were kind of like that first little.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
I would just stay up on the cardio equipment, and then I got with you, and we had a couple workouts together and stuff like that. So that was like my first step into that. So
That's so much fun, right?
Yeah. Really, now it's a part of my life. I couldn't imagine
cool.
without.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So where did your journey with addiction, like how did that all start with you?
Shit, I grew up in South Texas, down by Mexico, in a border town.
Okay.
And I think there was something different. You know what I mean? There was some, I whatever every addict feels like they don't fit in, or I didn't feel like I was enough of this or enough of that, and I started using really, really young. Not for any reason, like any home issues or anything like that. Like, I had a really good upbringing.
When did you start using?
How old was I?
No, what did you start using?
Smoking weed,
alcohol,
drinking, at first, like, 12, 13 or whatever. And then I was introduced to heroin really young, 14, 15.
Oh, wow.
Somewhere
Really?
in there, yeah. And some older guys, had it, and they were talking about it. I didn't really know what it was, and I was just like, man, that sounds rad, And I did it, and it was really scary, actually. It was pretty powerful, And I had a pretty bad experience the first time, and I didn't keep on using immediately, but I definitely kind of like any chance I got, I would use until I was about 18 or 19, and in that time, I started doing other drugs too. Like, I started using cocaine, and I started smoking it right away too. I don't know. I think I'd sniffed it, and man, I mean, not to like get too graphic or anything, but it makes like a weird taste in your mouth.
Yeah.
I liked the feeling, but I didn't like that taste. So I asked another one of my older friends. I said, man, is there another way to do this? And they were like, well, yeah, you can like rock it up. And I was like, all right, let me try that. And I was like, oh, this is it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I've been crackhead since I was like a youngster.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I've been smoking crack for a long time. And, you know, when I left there and I moved to Austin, down there wasn't like that kind of, I didn't have any peers like that were my age. It was with these, you know, older, really shady dudes, you know?
Yeah.
And when I moved here to Austin, there was people my age doing it. Right. And I was like, oh shit, I kind of found my little tribe, you know what I mean? Other people that were using like I was using and that were my age. And it was kind of accepted. Like I couldn't tell anybody down there. Like I couldn't tell my friends that I hung out with regularly that I was using heroin. Yeah. You know? And everybody always, you know, like, oh, you know, you're hanging out with a group of guys, right? And it's like, it's totally acceptable to be sniffing cocaine. And then there I was, like, cooking it up. And they were like, dude, what are you doing? Yeah. You know? And I was like, well, this is how I do it, you know? But it wasn't accepted, you know, where I was from and where I grew up. And then when I moved here, it was definitely more accepted for the people I was hanging out with.
So at that time when you're down in South Texas, I'm sure, did you also discover at a young age you're an artist and how good you were at it? Or is that something you picked up later?
I would never say that I'm good at that or anything. That's how I mean, we just talked about it. Like, it's hard for me to be like, oh, I'm this, or, you know,
when did you start enjoying art?
So my father was an artist. Okay. My father taught art, and he had pretty artistic background on my father's side, but my father was he taught at the university level. Okay. And
UTEP?
UT Brownsville. Okay. Yeah. UTB. I think it's kind of changed names a couple of times, but he was very involved in all that, and I wasn't good like in school, you know, and I was dyslexic, and I had a really hard time in school, and I dropped out really young, and he kind of pushed me. He was like, well, you need to start drawing, you know? And, I started like messing around, and he was really impressed with my skills. I started selling drugs, and I got into like street life really young, you know? So I always like, I didn't think that art was I didn't think of it as a way to support myself. You know, I thought that my job was going to be a drug dealer, right? You know, and sell dope and hustle and sell whatever, you know? And, you know, I always kind of piddled around with it. And, it wasn't until years later, you know, that I really like
would actually get into it.
Yeah. When I started kind of growing up, but early on is like, you know, I was busy, you know, running the streets and, you know, getting in trouble and doing that kind of stuff. And then I stopped doing all that. I stopped hustling like that when I started tattooing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you got to Austin, how long were you ripping and running when you got here?
Oh, shit. Well, I mean, I was like 18 or 19 years old. So I ripped and ran the whole time.
For, I mean, 5 years, 10 years?
So, you mean like selling drugs and stuff, or like getting high?
Addiction?
I didn't get sober. I didn't get sober until I got sober once when I was 28, and I got locked up, and I got locked up and everything, and I got out, and I started going to meetings. I had some friends that were in recovery, and you know, I had a strong connection with them because we used to get high together, and so I was like, okay, well, these guys can do it. I can do it too, right? You know, and I went to meetings, but I didn't do anything. You know, I just went to the meetings, and I just kind of like hung out with those guys. Right. And eventually, I ended up getting an injury, and I got hurt skating. And since I didn't have any like real like I didn't have any like tools, you know, and I probably didn't have a sponsor, you know. Yeah. And so when my buddy said, hey, I have this pain pill, you know, I'd like really messed up my leg. And I was like, oh, a pain pill? I'm in pain. It's real pain.
Makes sense.
It makes sense. 3 days later, I had a fucking needle in my arm. Right. You know, just like that. Yeah. You know, and I was on a good one. And that probably lasted like a few months. And then I got an opportunity. I stopped, and I tried to get off on my own. It didn't work. I was too sick. So I got back on the methadone program. And I've been on and off methadone also since I was 18. Mm-hmm. You know, I was trying to get off, you know. So I got on the methadone program, and then I ended up getting an opportunity to work at a shop that was really, really well known with one of my favorite tattoo artists, mm-hmm. you know. And I was so, like, I really wanted to like work hard, and you know, I saw that it was like a great opportunity. Yeah. So I really tried to focus, and then about 3 years later, I had a motorcycle accident, and same thing. That, you know, I woke up on drugs or whatever, and that time I didn't start using right away. I had to have a couple surgeries and stuff, and I took the meds as prescribed. And I was still on methadone. Not obviously, like, I wasn't working a program or anything. I wasn't doing any of that stuff, but I just wasn't using, and I was on methadone. And I guess just one day, it was actually right across the street from here. Really? Yeah, I was riding my motorcycle, and I saw a buddy of mine. He had a shop literally right across the street, and I saw him outside. It was like 9 a.m, and I was like, I know what this fucker's doing. And I went over there, and he was like, "What's up?" And I said, "Let me in." And he was like, "No way." And I showed him a wad of cash. I knew what he was doing, right? We had that history, you know. We've been using together for years. And he let me in, of course, you know. And then I went on a fucking good one, you know. And I immediately started committing crime and doing all that, you know. I threw it all away.
Right. Going back to what you said about when you originally, like, you came here and you started going to meetings, you weren't really doing much of meetings, but you were with your friends, right? The kind of your crew of people going in there and trying to get sober together, I imagine. I remember when I first started doing that, and it was me and a bunch of veterans. I was in a veteran facility, and so it was me and about 4 guys, and we started going to meetings together. And one by one, they started to fall off until it was just me going to these meetings now. And I remember looking around, and I was like super pissed off. I was resentful at all them because I took it personally. Like, man, what the fuck? Like, we were doing this together, and you guys just ran off on me. Yeah. And it was a very valuable lesson for me to understand, because, you know, you want to go to meetings with your friends and all that, but then once you've been there going for a while, you start hearing, surround yourself around people that have what you want in life. And so it's like I'm running around with all these people that don't know how to stay sober either. Like, how good is that really going to be? Right. And so a lot of the guys that I talk to, men or women that I talk to now, it's like, you know, they're in treatment, they go to their sober house, and then they're going to meetings with all their sober house buddies, which is cool, but you better find some more veteran people in there too that have done this for a little bit longer than all your buddies, because we both know the statistics are not in our favor. Yeah. And so it's like being able to find those people we look up to, or the people we know can call us on our bullshit, and make sure we keep those people close, because those are the people that are going to be able to call us when we start falling off or start messing around.
For sure. Yeah.
With you, so then you get injured, you get back into the life, and you go on this run. At what point did you kind of like hit your rock bottom where you're like, all right, this is fucking it. I can't do this anymore?
Yeah, so that was 2000. I think that was 2000, the end of 2008 when I had the motorcycle accident. A year later, I relapsed. Okay. After all the surgeries and everything, and a year later, so that would have been 2009, and I was running from 9 to 12. And I got locked up at 12. And in those years, I like racked up like 13 felonies in 3 different counties. And you know, I had a house. I had a new kid. You know, I had a daughter, and you know, and none of it mattered. Mm-hmm. You know, and 100% I chose the streets over them. You know. And over the life that I had created, I chose the streets, and I left, and I just kind of moved around. You know what I mean? Like I had like a you know, like a house. You know what I mean? I had a place to live, and you know, whatever. And I decided to be homeless instead. Right. You know?
Yeah. You don't want the people that love you. You don't want them seeing what you're doing.
Yeah. I didn't want to bring it around my daughter. I had a little garage. I used to work on motorcycles and stuff just for, personal stuff, and I had a little garage on the side of my house. And I remember I remember making the decision, like that I needed to leave, which was good, which was a really good decision, because someone had burned me for something, and they just showed up, like they didn't even care, and I knew they had burned me, and I had he was much bigger than me, and I wasn't, I wasn't trying to fist fight the guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I doused him with gasoline.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and he was like, he was caught off guard, and he was like, what the fuck are you doing? I said, I'm looking for a match, motherfucker, and I was like full on gonna light him, and there was an opening in the thing. He fucking jumped over there, but there was this huge commotion in there, and it was like 1 or 2 in the morning or something. And my ex comes and she bangs on the window and she's like, what the fuck are you doing? And I'm sitting there just like everything's thrashed in there because this dude, we had a little tussle. I'm like looking for something to light him up, And
thank God.
I was like, I don't know what I'm doing,
Right.
It was just a reaction, you know what I mean? And I didn't have the, it's like, I was fucked up, you know what I mean? And this guy burned me, and that's what I'm supposed to do. You know what I mean? I was going to burn him back, I guess.
Right.
And I was like, what the fuck am I doing? My daughter was probably 2 years old or 1 year old or something, Here I am about to light this dude on fire, because he stole $100 from me or whatever the fuck it was, And I was like, I should just fucking get out of here. And I started just kind of staying with people around, and I kept on doing all the stuff I was doing, and I was still working. And then, it's slowly but surely people started to notice like how fucking gnarly I was, and went from one shop to another shop. And then, not too long after, they, somebody shot my car up outside the shop, and they were like, dude, you're like a liability. Like, this has never happened here,
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, wait, we're on the east side, I mean, of course this is happening to everybody, right? They were like, no, dude, no one's car here has ever gotten shot up.
Right. Right.
No one's had, I just had all kinds of drama, So I opened up my own shop right there on 12th and Cedar. I was like, well, I'm going to open a shop right here. And actually, a buddy of mine already had a space, but he didn't, he wanted a business partner because he wanted to kind of split the cost, and he was in recovery too, and he was like an old friend. And I was like, yeah, I'm sober too, I wasn't sober,
right?
And he figured it out really quick, and I had a shop right there, and it ended up just turning into like a trap house, and we had like all that stuff, you know what I mean? And shootouts and fights, and it was gnarly. It was fucking crazy. Like, I cannot imagine it right now.
It's funny you say that. I'd ended up in Austin. I'd just gotten out of prison, and was looking for work. And so I used to go stand at Home Depot, and I would be the only white dude standing there at Home Depot. And the Mexican dudes there did not like me because, number one, I could speak English. And so the people that would need the workers would pull up, and they'd
like you,
and immediately see me, and they'd be like, you. And so these guys had been standing out there since 4 a.m. I probably come strolling up about 7:15, and then they're like, you. So they'd take me, and so one guy wanted to hire me on full time, and it was a tree service, and he was in recovery, and so he'd always try to be spouting big book stuff to me, and I'd be like, yeah, okay. And then he called me on my shit one day, and he was like, all right, I want to hire you full time. I'm going to bring you on, benefits, everything. We need to go do a piss test right now, though. And I was like, I'm not doing a piss test.
You were dirty?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And the whole thing of what sparked it off is, I don't know if you've ever done this, but we were hooking up the chipper to the back of his dump truck.
Okay.
And I'd walked around, and dude, it's early, it's dark, but I walked into the bumper hitch. So, you know what I mean? Bumper hitch is sticking out. I walked in, bashed my shin, which I would do that sober anyways. Like, it's a pretty common thing to happen. Yeah. And so he starts accusing me. He's like, you're high. I was like, I promise you I'm not high. I wasn't high at that time, but I had been high any other time.
Of course, yeah.
You know what I mean? But so then that day he wants to hire me, and so we're driving down the road after a job, and he's telling me, no, I'm taking you to do a piss test right now. I was like, I'm not doing a piss test for you. Either hire me or not, or whatever. And so I ended up hopping out of the moving truck because he wouldn't like take me back where I needed to be and everything like that. But it's funny how I still feel bad for that guy. I wish I could get a hold of him, because he used to say some really good stuff to me. And for years I was like, man, that dude was a dickhead. He was a dickhead. But he was really saying all the shit that I needed to hear. I just wasn't willing to listen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You weren't ready yet. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just wasn't time for me. But
it's crazy, right? Like when it's time, it's time.
Right.
You know?
So
and you're ready to do whatever is necessary.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
You know?
And that's the point I had to hit, where it was like, there's nothing else in this world.
Yeah.
So what was that moment for you?
So I'd done all those crimes, you know, I'd gotten all those felonies. I kept on, you know, getting out on bail or whatever. And
you been in prison?
Twice, yeah.
Okay. How much?
Yeah, nothing too crazy. I went one time, I went like 2 years, and then, you know, I ended up at the end of the sentence going to like a program, like the
Safe P?
The Safe P, the substance abuse, whatever program. And both times I ended up getting that program. But, you know, they first, you know, because of all the shit that I had to go to, you know, went to state jail for a little bit. From county, I went to state jail, and then from state jail, I went to TDC, and then from TDC, they transferred me to Safe P. Yeah. You know, and it was like the span. This last time was like 11 months. And I think I did 4 months at Safe P, maybe 3.5 months. It was like a really short thing, but nevertheless, you know, it was cool. Like all of it was cool, and it was, you know, pretty chill or whatever. But you know, it's still like still locked up. You're still sharing boxers. You know what I mean?
Right. Bro, I used to, my mind was so fucking distorted when I was high. I used to sit there and be like, I could do prison. Prison was cool. I'll be fine. And then I remember getting in there like, what the fuck was I thinking? This fucking sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. Yeah.
It's not like I'm scared. I wasn't scared for my life or anything like that. It's just, this is garbage.
It's chill, right. Yeah, it's chill, but it's like, fuck, dude, it sucks, you know?
I can only play so many games of spades.
You go to state jail?
So I was on, the unit I was on was half TDC, half state jail. I was on the TDC side though. Yeah. So I was around state jail guys.
Yeah, state jail's fucking gnarly. You know, it's like just, I don't know, like maybe the funding or I don't know what it is, but like.
Well, everybody acts crazy because they all know when they're going home.
Man, they don't have to worry. Rowdy. I've never seen anything like that before.
They don't have to worry. They don't have to worry about parole.
Yeah. So those dudes were like jumping on tables, when I walked in, I was like, whoa, where the fuck am I, man? These dudes are fucking crazy.
We're in the jungle now.
Yeah, dude, it was rowdy. It wasn't like, people weren't like being chill. You know what I mean? Like they were fucking going off, you know? I was like, whoa.
That was the tough. So the tough thing about being on half state jail, half TDC. For those that don't know, if you're going to state jail in Texas, that's 2 years and under. The max you can go is 2 years. If you get a TDC felony, you can go anywhere from 2 and above, 2 to life. So they mixed us. We weren't housed together, but we're on the same unit. But they served us our food. They did our laundry. Like they gave us laundry and all that. But so TDC guys, we're all walking around worried about parole. You know, are we going to get to go home early?
Right.
These guys know when they're going home. They know they're only doing a max of 2 years.
That's it, yeah.
So they could provoke a fight. They could throw a tray on you. They could start some shit. They could say disrespect you in some way. And so now I'm in front of the entire cafeteria. I got to hold it down. You know what I mean? I can't let somebody see me get punked. Yeah. But what am I supposed to do? Fuck my parole off for this state jail guy? And so that's like just another added mental game in there that was not cool.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah. So you end up getting out of prison. So that moment that hit where you were just like, all right, it's time to change.
So I mean, you know, I had some pretty crazy charges that I had racked up, you know, and I had like stole a car, and then I was being accused of trying to run over a cop in this car, and I took him on a high speed chase or whatever, and I got away, but they had the license plate. And they tracked it back to me. I'd borrowed a car. I didn't really steal it. I stole it, but I took it from someone.
Right.
You know, trying to sugarcoat it a little bit here. You know what I mean?
I didn't steal it. I borrowed it, but I did take it. But I
stole it, but I stole it from a friend, from someone I knew, and and I was working in a different city, and they ended up, finding out where I was, and they had made like a whole sting operation and made a fake tattoo appointment with me.
Really?
Yeah, it was like a whole thing, dude.
Wow.
It was fucking crazy. Yeah. And I was really, really strung out. And so they made the appointment to come in and leave a deposit. I knew something was up because of, like, they weren't my normal customers that came to me, And it was all by phone or whatever that we were chatting, and it just sounded off, And it was about 2 weeks after I had taken him on the high-speed chase, and I burned him. You know what I mean? I got away from him. And
are you thinking you're in the clear at this time?
Kinda. Yeah, I kind of was. Yeah, but the way that these guys were calling the shot, trying to make this appointment, and trying to make this appointment with me with the urgency that that it was. You know what I mean? I was like, hey, let me hook you up with somebody else here, because I'm actually leaving town on this day. And they were like, well, we'll come in and just leave a deposit and like whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, fuck, I'm going to get $100, If that's $100 deposit.
Yeah,
so
it's my dope money for the
right.
day.
You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, cool. So we set it up, and then I ended up leaving the shop. I went to my buddy's house to do a load of laundry. And I was over there, I was getting high, and I was also doing my laundry too, but I remember my buddy calls me, and I'm fixing, and I had a really hard time. I've been using for now at this point, right? It's been like 20 something years that I've been using, right? So I had no veins. I'm like trying to get it on the bottom of my foot. And I'm on the phone, and I'm like, fuck, you got to hold really still. Yep. You know what I mean? Because those motherfuckers are tiny. And he's like, hey dude, your appointment's here. And I'm like, fuck man. And I just like, I don't know what I did. I did my thing, and I go down and I get on, I was riding like a bicycle at the time, and I rode my bike to the shop. It was like 2.5 blocks down the road, and they came full force.
Oh, really?
All these cops, like in car, they're screeching, and I was like, fuck, let me get out of the way, right? And they're like, get on the sidewalk, and they're coming after me, and they're like, and I'm there like, get off the bike, and I was like, fuck that. And I took off, and they caught me, and they beat me up, and we had a little tussle or whatever, and I remember they had me, big ass fucking dudes, you know what I mean? And they had me, and they're trying to get in my pockets, and I had my legs up, and they were like, what are you hiding? What are you hiding? And I had a bunch of syringes in my pocket, and they said, well, what do you, and I couldn't talk because I'd been on a high speed chase,
right?
And then we had a little tussle, they beat the shit out of me. So I could barely catch my breath, and they were like, he's trying to say something or whatever. And I was like, dude, I have something in my pocket. I was like, let me get it. I have syringes in my pocket. And I was like, I guarantee you the caps are off. And the energy was like, high energy, tense. You know what I mean? Like we're having a fight.
They don't know if you have a gun.
They don't know what the fuck's going on. And they're like, wow, they have their shit drawn. You know what I mean? And there's like 9 of them, maybe 10, maybe 15. I don't know who there were. There's a bunch of them. And they had me like we're letting one arm go. You try anything stupid, we're gonna fucking kill you or whatever. Stick my hand in my pocket, I pull them out, and the fucking syringes all have no caps. There's 3 syringes and there are no caps. And everything got quiet, And they were like, fuck. They were like, are you dirty? And I was like, fuck yeah, I'm dirty. Of course I'm dirty. You know what I mean? I had C since I was 19.
Really?
Yeah. And they were like, fuck, thanks, dude. I was like, yeah, whatever, dude. They were like, you want a cigarette? I was like, yeah.
Dude, so the first time I ever got popped, Drug Task Force got me. And so it's like Suburbans with them hanging off the side with fucking ARs and everything. And I was like,
scary.
All this for me? For me? What the fuck? I'm over here buying $100 worth of fucking dope, and you act like you're busting El Chapo right now.
But I know. Yeah, I thought there was no way. There was no way these guys did this.
Right. You're looking for somebody else. You're not busting the dealer right now. You're getting me.
Yeah.
But the second time I got busted, the first time here in Texas, they got me, dude. They pulled me over. I was fucked up. I knew I was driving fucked up on the highway. And the dude pulls me out. It was in my sock. I knew he was going to find it.
Yeah.
And he went to go search. I'm like, man, it's in my sock. And just because I had told him the truth, Bro, he let me smoke in the cop car. He did my cuffs on the front and all that. Well, that was like my first Texas experience. I'm like, oh, Texas cops are cool. So then I thought every other time I got busted after that a cigarette was mandatory, and that none of that ever happened again for me.
Yeah.
But
they let me smoke. Yeah, they let me smoke. They gave me Gatorade, and then I pulled some other shit too. When they put me in the car, I tried to jump in the front seat, and they were like, "You're fucked," you know. So it was like
they were being cool with you, and you fucking.
Well, I still had a little bit of go in me. You know what I mean? I was like, well, shit, I'm doing what I do, and they're gonna do what they're gonna do.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna try one more time to get away.
Right.
You know. But I mean, I couldn't. You know. Anyways, I kept on getting in trouble, and I ended up getting caught up here in Austin. I had already been to court. I got out and then, I was fighting that case, and they couldn't prove any of the stuff about me trying to like run over the cop because I didn't. You know, he was standing in front of the car and I went around him, you know, and the dash camera was facing the other way, and they couldn't prove it. And luckily I had an attorney, you know, and so when I finally ended up getting caught up, I had the probation that I was supposed to do there that I never did. I was supposed to do the probation from the other county that I got busted in that I never did. And they ended up catching me here. I was selling here in Austin, and, you know, nickel and diming shit, you know what I mean? Enough to support my habit. You know, I didn't have a place to live. I was, you know, homeless again, you know, staying on couches, you know, staying in motels like that, you know, like on and off my whole life. Right. You know, and, I'd get sober and I'd have a bunch of stuff and it would be great. I bought a house and, you know, whatever. I did that a couple times and like lost everything, you know, a couple times. And, so I'm out running around and I was going to go tattoo at someone's house. But I was first going to go hit a couple licks. And, on my way back, they undercover, unmarked car pulled me over. And I think they knew something, you know.
Wait. So we just went from you getting busted at the tattoo shop. Now this is another time?
Now another time, yeah. Okay. Now fast forward a couple months or 6 months or whatever, and I'm here in Austin, and this is the final time. And same situation. They stopped me, and I was like, okay, cool. And I took off, you know, caught me, you know, and I gave him a fake name. I had a fake name that I always used, and I didn't have an ID, you know. Of course, you don't carry an ID when you're a criminal, right? So he goes to the thing, and he comes back, and he goes, "I don't understand why you ran, dude. You know why? You know." And I don't know. He came back, and I said, "Hey," I said, "You know what, dude?" I said, "It's not my name, man." He's like, "What?"
Okay.
And I go, "It's not my name, man." I said, "My name's," you know, gave him my name, gave him my ID number and everything. He comes back, and he goes, "Fuck, I guess I would have lied too, man."
Right.
You know, he's like, "You're wanted in, you know, 2 different counties and whatever." And, and, you know, locked me up, and, you know, I was kicking dope in there pretty bad, you know. I mean, it's always bad, but, you know, I was vomiting on myself, you know. I couldn't make it to the toilet in time, and they wouldn't give me a new jumper. So I had like, you know, shit pants. Maybe I had shit stains. It wasn't full on shit, but like a little bit got out.
I know
that one that got away, you know, and then, you know, puking, and then some of it.
That one that got away,
you know, and a little bit of vomit on the front. Right. You know what I mean? It wasn't too bad, but like definitely no one wanted to be around me.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
And it was always like that. Every time I got busted, every time I was in the county jail, there I was fucking vomiting and fucking shitting on myself. You know, and they called me for a official visit. Someone I knew had tried to hire me an attorney, and my family was done with me. You know, my family had already been done. You know, my mom had been dealing with it for years. She's like, "Yeah, as long as you're sober, like I got your back. But if you're out there doing what you're doing, like I got nothing for you. You can call me. You know, I'll put $20 on your books or something. You know, but yeah, like I'm not gonna mess. You know, I'm not gonna get you an attorney or anything like that. I'm not gonna bond you out or anything." So a friend of mine had hired this attorney, and I was like, "Man, how much did she pay you?" And I was like, "Man, you know what?" I said, "Give her money back, man. I'm just going to deal with what comes, you know?" And I took that, you know, and I went back to the cell and I just like thought about it, and I was like, man, you know, like look at what I'm doing with my life, right? Here I am again, going back, you know. I'm looking at more time now, and luckily I had already had a taste of sobriety, even though I hadn't done the full-on deal, you know. I knew that it was possible for me,
right?
You know, and something clicked, and I was like, I'm ready to do whatever it is that's suggested. I'm going to do everything. I'm going to do everything that they say to do. By they, I meant you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My peers that were in recovery,
right?
And you know, I'm an AA guy. You know, right? I'm a 12-step person. So I was like, that's what I'm going to do. You know, and that's what I did. You know what I mean? I stopped bucking. You know what I mean?
Right.
I stopped fighting everything. You know, and I was like, I went to court. They said, this is what you're getting, and I was like, cool. And then I went to the next county. This is what you're getting. Cool. This is what, and I ended up getting the best deal, because that first dude that came to see me, the hired attorney, was like, he's like, you're looking at around 8 years. And I was like, fuck, that sucks, right? So I mean, I was going in blind. You know what I mean? Now with just a court-appointed attorney. You know what I mean? And I ended up doing 11 months. You know?
Really?
You know, it's like, so, you know, and I didn't, you know, I mean, that's just how it ended up, you know, and because I let go, you know, I let go of all the bullshit, you know, and I was just like, fuck it, man, just let it ride, you know?
Right.
And yeah, and I started going to meetings a lot in there, and I started doing the GSR, and I just kind of like stepped up anywhere I was needed, you know, anywhere that there was an opportunity to like help or be a part of it, 100% like, it's me, I'll do it, you know what I mean? I'll take that, you know?
Yeah, that's the only Carlos I've ever known. So to hear about this other one is crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, even in there, dude, even when I was locked up, you know, like the dudes, like my homeboys or whatever, you know what I mean? Like my people, they'd be like, man, what were you like on the streets? You know what I mean? I'm like full on fucking junkie crackhead.
Yeah.
They're like, there's no fucking way. And I'm like, yes, dude, that's me. I'm a fucking crackhead, like all the way down to my fucking bone marrow. You know what I mean? I'm a hope to die fucking heroin addict.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Straight up. Like I knew nothing else. I thought that I was going to be like that for the rest of my life. I tried everything, bro. I tried everything. I did the fucking 12 steps. I did what's that other fucking book? The Staying Sober. I did fucking, I kind of tried NA. I even did like Scientology, bro. I went to a Scientology place.
Did you really?
Yes, dude.
But
that's the
treatment?
crazy. Yes, it's the craziest story that I have. Yes, Narconon. You went there too?
Oh, yeah.
You did?
Oh, yeah.
Wow, the one in Ponca?
Louisiana.
Oklahoma? Oh, okay. I went to Ponca, Oklahoma.
Really?
Fuck, man, it was crazy.
Dude, we could go for stories all day.
I know, yeah. It was
8-hour saunas.
It was seriously the craziest experience that I've ever had.
Yeah, I did 4.5 months there.
I lasted like 28 days.
Smoked crack and snorted oxys.
Did you really?
The first night out.
Oh, wow. Oh, not in there.
No, and I even scored lower tabs off. My back was all fucked up while I was there, so they would take me to the chiropractor.
Yeah.
And the girl that worked the desk at the chiropractor, I ended up scoring lower tabs off her. So I'd go in the bathroom and snort those. But dude, that was I had no idea where I was. I didn't know anything about Scientology.
Neither did I.
All I knew is every room I walked in, I kept seeing a picture of this guy on the wall, which I would later find out is L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah. Dude, that's so funny, man, because when I my mom had helped me find it, you know, and she was like, oh, there's this place. It's called Church of Scientology. It's this thing. And I was like, sounds good. You know what I mean? I had no idea what it was. I didn't know anything. And I was like, what the fuck? Where am I, dude?
Dude, I was in detox in Tampa. And it was the only time my family was going to pay for me to go to treatment.
You got to detox before you went to...
So, yeah, I was in... Okay. I had no idea what to do. It was the first time I'd ever tried to get sober.
Yeah.
I was living in Miami. I was asked out. I had no other options, no money, no nothing. I didn't even have the balls to call my mom. I called my aunt.
How old were you at this?
21, 22, 23, somewhere in that age. Yeah, I think so. And then, so I called my aunt, and we pulled a number out of the phone book back when the phone book was a thing.
Right.
So then they sent me to detox, and then from detox you pick where you want to go to treatment. So all I knew is there was a couple people in detox that were talking about going to this place in Louisiana.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to my mom and my grandma on the phone, and they're like, all right, we're going to pay for you to go this one time.
Yeah.
You do the research, you pick wherever you want to go. Bro, I'm kicking dope. I'm not doing any type of research. So
yeah.
These people are going to Louisiana. Cool, I'll go there too.
Yeah.
And the next thing I know, I end up there. And
you were like, what?
4.5
fucking Twilight Zone, dude. What the hell? Yeah.
4.5 months later, hours upon hours of walking and touching walls and turning around and touching walls.
Yeah.
Walk over, look at that wall. Walk to that wall, touch that wall.
Yeah. I actually tried to commit suicide right there.
Really?
That spot. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I was on methadone. I was on everything, and I had a really bad kick, and it was like that mental methadone kick. You know what I mean? And I was like, 17
so you were kicking there.
Yes, that's
wow.
Yeah, they put me in the detox house and they don't give any drugs. They don't believe in drugs. So.
Yeah, for those who don't know about Scientology, they don't believe in any drugs. So you're coming off some of the most hardcore.
Not even Advil. Not even
nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing.
They want you to look at rocks and like touch the rock, and that's going to make you feel better. I was like, motherfucker, I'm kicking methadone. Right. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't know.
Bro, they used to get. Do you remember that stuff? When you come out of you did the sauna part, right?
Yeah.
So we worked up and we would do 8 hours of sauna a day. And they had given me, but dude, they give me the best explanation of why we relapse ever. And that's what kind of sold me.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, when you do drugs, they get stored in your fatty tissues and you're always burning calories. So whenever you break down those, it releases in your blood and hits the pleasure center. Yeah. And then that's what makes you, that's where you get that urge to want to get high. And I'm like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's fucking it.
Yeah.
And so then they have you doing 8 hours of sauna. Yeah. And then you get out and they basically give you like a little Dixie cup of Crisco to replenish the oils in your system, and then some other bullshit.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, it was. Yeah,
but
it
was an
crazy.
Experience.
Yeah,
bro, we're part of the Narcanon fucking clique. Let's go.
Not me. You are. No,
oh yeah. Oh, you bounced.
Hell yeah, I bounced. Dude.
I graduated.
Yeah. No, you did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I fucking did.
I did all my time.
And they wouldn't let. They were like, you cannot leave. They would not let me leave.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, yeah, I want to go. I want to get out of here. And they were just like. Talk to me and like talk me down, like, no, you can't leave, and you're a leader and all this shit, and like you have to stay here. And
they wanted you to work there afterwards, right?
Everybody worked there. Yep. I was like, every counselor, every nurse was someone like me that graduated and then became that.
Right, a month before.
Yeah, a month before. Literally, I was like, oh yeah, you're like a nurse or whatever. They're like, yeah. I was like, but you came here too. They're like, yeah. They're like, yeah, when you graduate, this is your first job. They put you in the withdrawal house. They give you stethoscopes and put you in the withdrawal. Like, come on, man, what kind of bullshit is that?
Right.
You know, and then like, I lost my mind there, and I was like, I got to get out of here.
Wild experience.
Yeah, it was freaking crazy.
So, dude, you finally get sober. Right?
Yeah.
Fucking, what does life look for you? What does life look like for you now?
Now it's great. Yeah, it was great from. You know, it just like progressively got better, you know, like month after month, year after year, it's only gotten better, right? You know, yeah, it's, you know, getting out and then like, you know, being free and, you know, doing all the things, right? And going to meetings and I started exercising when I got sober, you know what I mean? I'd never done anything like that, you know, and I found the passion for that. And, you know, started working with a sponsor immediately and continued to get involved in the fellowship, you know, and did everything that I could, everything that was suggested, and just kept on doing it on repeat, you know. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I had to live in Dallas for a little bit, for a year, and then, you know, I got to move back to Austin and be with my daughter and you know, and help raise her. And we have like the most amazing relationship, you know. And you know, I didn't have much. It took a lot to like build up to what I have now, you know, in life. I mean, I started off like in inefficiency, and then then got like a bigger house, a rental, and then like a nicer house, another rental, and then, you know, we ended up having my partner and I ended up having a son 3 years ago, and you know, we own a house. And yeah, like I wake up every day, and like I sometimes, I don't know if you're like this. I know that it's very common, you know, with a lot of us, but you know, I wake up and I'm like, fuck, I cannot believe that this is what I'm doing, that this is my fucking life. You know what I mean? Coming from where we came from, I think you and I are very, very similar.
100%.
You know?
It's a common thing to say, but I'm getting goosebumps even thinking about it.
You know, and I sit there and I do my morning prayer and meditation. Like, I've never let up on that. You know what I mean? Like, I wake up every morning and I pray and I meditate, and then I sit down with a cup of coffee and I write all these things that I'm grateful for, and then I write a to-do list. You know, and this is all stuff that I learned from being sober that I'd never done in my whole life.
Right.
You know, and while I'm sitting there, at 5:30 in the morning, writing this gratitude list, I'm like, I cannot believe that this is my life. I mean, like, this thought crosses my head almost every day. You know what I mean? I'm like, am I dreaming? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? When is someone going to pull the rug out from under me? You know what I mean? I'm going to be like, fucking wake up in a 6x9 or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be still locked up or, dead or whatever. Like, I don't know. Like,
right.
I couldn't imagine my life. You couldn't have told me 12, I'll celebrate 12 years on July 17th, 2012. That was my sobriety date. That's my sobriety date. And if you had told me that, I would have been like, you told me what I was doing now,
right? Ain't no
with
fucking
my shop,
way. Ain't no way.
You know, I have two shops. They're amazing. I get to work with the most amazing people ever that are so open-minded and so cool. I've never worked in a place like this. I've been tattooing 26 years. I've never worked in a place that was just so rad and so positive and just so like healthy.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And when I opened the shop, that's what I wanted to create. You know what I mean? To create a healthy, like, environment for everyone.
Right.
And have an amazing experience for our customers, you know? And, I started a pigment company. We make tattoo pigment, and like watching that grow, and like everything that I do in life, I approach everything with love, you know? Mm-hmm. Everything is, every step that I take, every interaction that I have, I'm approaching it with love and open-mindedness, you know? And the outcome is always going to be great.
Yeah.
You know, it's always going to be an awesome outcome.
Yeah.
You know, if in my experience, the way that I approach things, if I approach everything like that, then there's going to be a great outcome out of it. You know?
Right. Dude, I say it so much, I feel like the rug is going to get pulled out from under me. I feel like everybody's going to figure me out. You know what I mean? Not there's something, but these amazing people that I've had that have come into my life, like I'm surrounded with all these badasses, super successful people, like people I never even dreamt would have a conversation with me are now some of my best friends.
Yeah.
I'm able to own a home. I have an amazing wife. I have a dog. It's like, this is a life I thought I'd be dead long before any of this happened.
Yeah.
I grew up and I watched my friends move, my high school friends move on to all this stuff, and I was just like, oh, it's just not.
You're like, they're probably snitches, you know? They're probably it's just that's what I used to think when I went to meetings before, and I was like, and I see these people that like, and I was still fucked up.
Right.
I'd see people they'd be like, oh, I'm celebrating 12 years or whatever the fuck, and they have like these nice clothes and, this like fancy car, and they're talking about all this shit. I'm like, and they don't look like what I imagined someone that was like down and out looked like, and I'm like, well, he must be a fucking snitch or something.
Right.
You know what I mean? They must have told on somebody,
Dude, my last...
How else could you have that?
Right. My last felony was my fourth possession of heroin case. They're going to charge me as habitual criminal. I had already been down. And so the judge looked me in the face and said he didn't see any reason to sentence me to under 20 years. And so at that point, I thought I was done. Foregone conclusion, I'm going away. So really, the only reason I got sober, it was the first time I tried to get sober for myself, but the only reason I was really trying to get sober so I didn't have to kick in jail like we've talked about, and to hopefully get my family to where they would speak to me again if I got to go away to do this 20 years. And then through everything, I got my shit together and started going to meetings, got in the program. All these people got behind me, and I kept a folder of all the stuff I had been doing. And then when it was time for sentencing, I went and presented it to the lawyer, and the lawyer opened it up. He's like, wow, like you've really given me something to work with here. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it, and let me go back and talk to the judge.
Is that this time?
Yeah.
Okay.
The time when I finally got sober.
Okay.
So
wow.
I was already all in on the recovery stuff, and that moment was like this pivotal moment for me of hope, where it's like, holy shit, like I might not be going away for 20 years. And so they ended up giving me probation. They gave me max probation. And that was my first thing that I thought. I was like, everyone's going to think I snitched.
For sure.
Everyone's going to think I snitched. I just went from 20 years to 10 years probation. And then, brother, I got off probation in 5 years. It was the very first day I was eligible to get off. They let me off.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I went to prison, I turned down probation because I knew I couldn't do it. I knew I was just going to fuck it off and go away to prison anyways. But when I got on probation and actually was handling my shit and doing good stuff in the world and telling the truth and being around good people, probation was a breeze.
Sure. Yeah. Everything's easy.
Bro, everything
easy
was
when you're
so
doing the right
easy.
thing.
The probation officers loved when I came. They're like, we love hearing everything you're up to. Most people come in here and lie to us.
Yeah.
And so it was like, holy shit. Like, it was like a big learning moment in my life where it was like, man, if I just kind of follow the rules, which I'm supposed to be doing anyways, which a lot of them are in my best interest, life is so much fucking easier. It was
so crazy. That's all you had to do all along, right? That's all we had to do all along was just like, you know, and the amount of support. Like, I had no idea how much support that I had if I was just like trying to do the right thing, you know?
Yep. I remember...
from everyone. Yeah. You know, from people that you don't even, you know?
Bro, I'm friends with police officers now, which is like the most wildest shit to me. I just had...
that's great.
I've had numerous ones on the podcast. I text back and forth with them where it's like, never did I think a world would exist where I'd be actual friends with these people.
Wow.
I remember my first sponsor took me to a family day at his treatment center that he went to. And there was I learned one of my most valuable recovery lessons there. And so I sat there all day and, you know, families are there and they're doing events and all that. But I noticed I'd be in the smoke area vaping the whole time. And so I noticed anybody that smoked cigarettes had to stand with their back against this pole and they weren't allowed to talk. But if you chewed or you vaped, you could walk around freely and talk. And so all day I sat there and I watched this and I was like, what the fuck is this? Why is this a rule? This is so stupid.
Right.
Like, why are they hating on people that smoke cigarettes? Are they trying to get them to quit smoking? What's the deal here? So all day it bugged me. And I remember we got in his car and we were leaving and I was like, hey man, you got to tell me, why is there a rule that if people smoke cigarettes, they have to stand on their back to the pole? And he's like, that's your problem right there. And I was like, what? He goes, it's a rule, man. Just follow it. Why are you questioning it? And I was like, oh yeah, like, why am I? It has no effect on me. Why am I questioning it? And then I remember when I got in my car, it was the first time I ever like put my seatbelt on. And I was like, well, this is a rule. Like, I need to do this. I've never gotten another ticket for a seatbelt again. I've never gotten pulled over for that reason, for not having a seatbelt. And it was just like, wait a minute. Like, okay, just live within the fucking rules and life is so much easier. Stop trying to do my shit the way I want to do it all the time. Right. What would you say was that valuable lesson for you that got you to finally catch that? Or was it just you had been through so much you were just done?
I'd been through, I said, I'm going to do everything right.
Right.
You know, that was the decision that I made. I was like, I'm going to do everything that's suggested and I'm going to do everything right. You know? You know, I was like, you know, my mom is pretty square, you know, religious woman, and she doesn't do anything wrong. You know, I was like, what would my mom do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I just wanted to do everything right, and I just wanted to be a good father.
Right.
You know, I wanted to be the best that I could be for, you know, for my kid, for myself, you know, and for my family. And yeah, I just wanted to, you know, and then like anything else, like I started seeing results and I was like, fuck, this is great. You know, I mean, like, what else can I do? You know, I had no idea what my potential was ever. And I think it's like that with a lot of drug addicts and alcoholics, you know?
Right.
It's like you never knew, like, that you had this thing inside of you.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, I never knew that I could be sounds weird, right? For me to say it, but like a businessman, you know what I mean? Like,
or a world famous tattoo artist.
I don't know about that.
World famous tattoo artist.
You can say
he won't say it. I'll say it for
him. But, you know, I never thought that my life would look like what it looks like now, you know?
Would you say tattooing, would you say it's a passion of yours?
For sure. 100%.
How important was it? Because you had known tattooing and art kind of before when you were in your addiction, but getting sober, how important was having that passion in your life, something to channel all that energy? Because for me, I look at my life, and I was passionless for a long, long time, and my life looked a whole lot different when I was. As soon as I had kind of discovered running and running races and pushing myself physically and what I could accomplish doing that, it became a passion. And that right there is the one thing that became more important to me than ever getting high again. If there's not something that's helping me support this passion, I don't have time for it. Right. And so a lot of what I talk to people about is the importance of being able to discover that passion, because all that energy we used to put into getting high, getting drunk, we got to put it somewhere.
Yeah, I had mixed feelings with it, because, you know, I had been in a place where I was very successful with it. And then after, like, before I got locked up in 2012, before that I was, you know, like I said, I was on the streets, I was homeless, and I was selling drugs, and that's how I was kind of supporting myself. And then, you know, I got locked up, and I did drawings and stuff, but I didn't do any tattooing really, you know? Mm-hmm. And then when I got out, I felt like I almost had to relearn, you know? Really? So it was like, you know, like it was very, very discouraging, you know? Because I didn't feel like I knew what was going on. I mean, like 3 years, you know what I mean? Because it's like, you know, between the time that I was like homeless and not really tattooing, I would just tattoo just to make a quick buck. You know, I wasn't like, you know, doing like, you know, I wasn't like doing these like awesome tattoos. You weren't an artist. Yeah, like I was just like, oh shit, you know, the dope dealer wants to get a tattoo, or this person's got $50 or $100 or whatever, and I just do a house call and, you know, or go tattoo in a motel or something and make some quick money, you know. And then, so it was very discouraging, you know what I mean? And so it was, you know, and then even when I came back to Austin, like I tattooed for a little bit, and then I tried to quit tattooing, and I tried to go work in, because I was so passionate about recovery, you know what I mean? I was so passionate about that. And I remember my sponsor was like, dude, you're so stupid, you know? He's like, you're a tattoo artist. Like, this is what you do. And I was like, and he let me do my thing. He let me figure out that was not for me, and that was not my passion, right. You know? And you know, there was like, you know, the owner of the shop was a really good friend of mine, and he saw that, and he saw that I was struggling, trying to find my place again, right. You know, and he was like, you know, how's the job going? And he was totally supportive, you know, he was like, do your thing, you know what I mean? And I was like, I actually hate working there, you know? And he was like, what if you manage the shop for me? I don't have time to deal with it, you know? Why don't you manage the shop for me? And it'll create some kind of ownership, and maybe it'll kind of like get you back passionate about it. And it did, you know, and it really did. And right then it was like, you know, I took more, I started working harder, you know what I mean? And I started trying to like find my place again, and I kind of changed how I did things. And from then on, you know, it was very, very important. And that's what, you know, that's when I really started like, you know, getting busy again, you know, and people see that, you know, people see that you're passionate about something, and that they want to, you know, they, you know, that confidence and that authenticity, you know, is very, it's magnetic, you know what I mean? Right. And I'm definitely very passionate about what I do.
That's so cool. It seems like you're able to rediscover your passion through a sober lens, right? Which gives it a completely different feel, relationship, and everything.
Yeah, like I felt like I couldn't tattoo unless I was high for some reason. You know what I mean? I had that block, you know, and I was like, I'm just not able to do it because, you know, I have a different lens on. You know what I mean? And I just had to find a different way to make me like reconnect with you know, to make that connection again, you know?
Right, for sure. So dude, somebody is listening to this, right? They're a bottom of the barrel crackhead. They heard your story. It speaks to them. And they're out there still suffering. What would you say is your number one piece of advice for them?
You know, I just did a podcast on Sunday, and they asked me the same thing.
Oh, really?
And
should I give another question?
Well, no, but it's such a weird, because you and I have already talked about this over and over again. It's like, what can you tell someone? Right. You know what I mean? Like that. This is something that has to come from. No one could tell me shit, bro. Yeah. No one could tell me anything. You know, there was a little glimmer of hope because I saw that my friends that used like I use and had been through similar situations were doing it and they were living an amazing life. You know, like all I can do is lead by example.
Yeah.
You know, like don't fucking listen to what I say. Watch my feet. You know what I mean? Watch what I'm doing. You know, and that's my only job. It's like Russell says all the time. Like you have one fucking job here. You know, lead by example.
Yep.
You know, I think that, you know, it's so easy to lose sight and lose hope, right? When you're down in the trenches, you know what I mean? And you're doing the thing and you're in there and you're getting loaded every day. Like, you know, it's hard to see any way out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, when you're ready, that's what I will say is that when you're ready, like fucking show up and ask for help.
Yeah.
You know?
There you go.
And it's so hard to be like, especially for someone like you and I, right? That have been like criminals and we've been doing things our own way to be like, hey, I need help. You know what I mean? It's like you feel like you're doing that, but it's actually it's the strongest, most bravest thing that you could ever do.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Is to be like, fuck, I need help.
Right.
You know what I mean? And watch how you're about to be surrounded. You ever fucking seen in a big ass meeting when some dude shows up and they're like, dude breaks down in tears and he's like, I'm fucking struggling. Watch how these fucking vultures are going to attack that dude at the end of the meeting. You know what I mean? They're going to be fucking fighting to get to him because because they want to help him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Myself included. And I'm going to fucking charge that dude up and fucking give him everything he needs, every opportunity he needs. I will do anything.
Right.
I will do anything for someone that's struggling. I'm not joking.
No, I get it.
You know what I mean?
Dude, I used to think I was tough because I wouldn't ask for help. Like, I'll deal with this on my own and all that.
That's what I'm saying.
But at the end of the day, I can look back now and be like, I was scared. It was fear, and I was scared to ask for help. I was scared I was going to get turned down, scared of what they were going to think, something like that. I didn't know what was going to go on. But now it's like you're just saying, like, that's the real tough thing to do is fucking ask for that help and watch what happens.
That's what tough means, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you some fun questions, right? This is my favorite question. I don't know why it's my favorite question to ask, but hypothetically speaking, you're walking out for the heavyweight championship of the world in the UFC tonight. What is your walkout song? What is that one song that gets you going?
Britney Spears, Toxic.
Britney Spears, Toxic.
I said that just to throw you off.
No, that's all right. It's funny. I used to, one of the treatment centers I would go to, they always want to pick the music for whatever workout we were doing. And so I would always let the clients pick the workout. Yeah. And so they would always pick, hard rock, Metallica, something rap, Tupac, whatever it is. Sure. And the one guy, just to throw it off, I was like, all right, you're about to graduate. What do you want? And he goes, Ariana Grande. And so the whole time was Ariana Grande, and it's just a bunch of dudes walking around all pissed off. They're listening to Ariana Grande. Yeah. But if it's Britney Spears Toxic, it's Britney Spears Toxic.
Oh yeah, we'll leave it. Yeah.
That's what gets you going. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it.
What would you say? What's a guilty pleasure for you now?
Shoot. Guilty pleasure.
Maybe a little ice cream on a Tuesday night.
Type shit, yeah.
Something like...
Yeah, sweets. That's what I was going to say.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
What's your favorite? What's your go-to?
I like... there's this place right across the street, Community Vegan. Mm-hmm. They have this banana pudding. If they have it, I'll drop everything and I'll go with that one, yeah.
So they only have it sometimes?
They only have it every once in a while.
Vegan banana pudding?
Yeah.
Okay. Is banana pudding... What makes it vegan?
Well, they just don't use any animal products. Got it. They use like milk alternatives or...
Oh, gotcha. Okay. And you're vegan?
Yeah.
That's right. I think you told me that before.
Yeah.
How does that affect you in the gym at all?
Nope.
No?
You've seen?
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
You got some endurance? What would you say you're a nighttime or a daytime guy?
Daytime, dude.
Daytime?
Yes.
Early morning?
Morning.
Me too.
I function the best in the morning.
Right.
Yeah.
Late afternoon, I'm shut down. That's my evening time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. Yeah. I wake up really early. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah. I have to wait. Because that's when my brain's firing. So that's when I want to fire off all my texts or my emails.
I'm the same way.
But I always
say, I'm like, I'm sorry it's so early, man. I'm like, and even like I'm texting my business partners or people at work or, I'm like, this is when my mind is the best,
Right. I got a good buddy of mine, Mike. He's a boat captain, and so he's always off on the boat, and so he's like the only dude that I'll be up at 2:33 in the morning, and I'll text him, and I'll get a text from him back. But anybody else, I'm not getting shit back.
Yeah,
but
that's amazing.
Yeah. Dude. So the way we like to wrap up the podcast is everybody's heard your story. You know what I mean? They kind of know what you're about, but I would love for the people to know kind of how you feel represented, right? And so if you take a look into your camera, you throw out some, yes sir, right there. Maybe throw out some I am statements and let them know who Carlos is.
I am sober. I am a father. I am a friend, a son, a partner. What else?
Fucking hell of a tattoo artist.
Oh man, yeah. This guy wants me to say, you just want me. I'm a tattoo artist.
Hell of a friend. There's so many.
Yeah, I'm a friend. Yeah. I strive to be a really good friend. You know what I mean? I strive to always be there for anyone that needs it. You know, there's a lot of people that were there for me. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, man, you cannot forget about that. You know what I mean? There's people willing to drop everything. You know?
Right. Well,
I am inspired. You know, I am inspired to be a better person every single day.
That's what's up. Because, dude, you're out there, you're traveling the world, you're working, you own companies and stuff like that. Anytime I've called or texted you, you've hit me right back. And I know Russell would say the same, and anybody I know that knows you would say the same. So, bro, I can't thank you enough for the time you took today, bro. It's an absolute honor to be able to sit in your tattoo shop. If you have anything you want to plug or anything you want to tell the people about, maybe how to get a hold of you on IG or the shop or anything like that,
you want me to?
You're more than welcome to if you want. You don't have to.
Yeah, it's communiontattoo.com. I mean, yeah.
All right, brother. I appreciate you very much, dude. Love you, man.
Yeah,
Thank you
nice.
so much, bro.
Great chatting. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.